Hello. Good morning. Hola, hola. It has been a while. Just wanted to say hello and kind of pop in. And some of you follow me on Instagram and Facebook have been asking me how I make the tags. So I'm participating in a 52, it's called hashtag 52 tags handmade, HANNE. The lady's name is Brook, who started the challenge. And every week on Friday, she posts another video with some prompts. So week one was white. So I'm going to go through my 4 tags for January that I did. I'm going to take February off. And instead of doing a tag each week, I thought I'll do them all at one video in for a month's worth of tags to just kind of make it easier. I may do a couple of videos where I'm actually filming while I make the tag, but I love this whole process. I wanted to learn how to embroider, and I used to do some basic embroidery stitches when I was a little girl. My grandma taught me when I was like 5, 6, but I don't remember. So this is a great opportunity to learn more embroidery and also to make sure I'm in frame, to utilize up scraps. I have scraps like crazy. So this is a great way to utilize some of my favorite pieces in little pieces of art, and also it can chronicle my year this year. So the year started out pretty sad. The holidays were really hard for me. I didn't know. I was warned that the holidays were going to be hard by a lot of people, but I didn't know that I was going to feel worse during the holidays than I did when my husband died. It was very, very hard, and I'm just coming out of that funk. So that's why I haven't been on. I've not been much on social media other than posting these tags, because I just I'm sad, and it's hard for me to even talk without crying. So I'm trying to start some new projects to help with my grief process. So what I'm going to do is I'll write on the back, the week that it was, what the prompt was, and then highlights of the week. And then sometimes a memory pops up about me and my husband, or whatever pops into mind. I'll journal on the back, because I want to look at this kind of like a 52-week diary when I'm all done, visual diary. So set these aside. The first tag is some white shantung silk that I had. Now what I did was, the scrapworker in me always wants to have like a base layer on the tag. So I went and glued fabric down on a bunch of tags, and then didn't think about the fact that I'm going to need to stitch through all that cardstock, and it's 2 layers of cardstock. It's some scrap cardstock, and then another piece of cardstock that had the side that I put the side down, the pattern side down, that I didn't like the pattern, and just used the white side for journaling. So there's 2 layers of cardstock, which is, it's pretty thick, and then the fabric. So it's not necessarily something that you can do stitching. So this one was, I didn't do any stitching on except for sewing the flowers on. And I did do a video making this, but it was absolutely ridiculous. It took me 20 minutes to sew these buttons. I don't know what was going on with my hands that day, but I could not get them to work. And it took me forever just to put the thread through and bring it up and tie it in a knot. It was crazy. So anyway, I gave up the ghost, and I just decided to glue it instead of stitching it, because I did try stitching through this, and it's hard. I have really thin embroidery needles, and they just weren't strong enough. And I need to get some of those little silicone fingertip things that you use to pull the threads through and difficult things. I'm going to go get a set of those as well next time I go by Joann's. So scraps, right? This is all fabric. These are flowers that are cut out of pieces of embroidered fabric, or like embroidery tops and skirts and things that I buy at the store specifically for the flowers, and then cut them all out. This was a little piece of vintage lace that I had. This shantung silk was from a old wedding dress that somebody gave me at a yard sale that was all moldy and nasty, and I threw it in the washing machine with some bleach and it came out clean, and I picked it apart and been using this silk. I love this silk. And this was another piece that my sweet friend Debbie Boring, hi Debbie, sent me, and I just kind of cut some of the swirls out, put that on top. And then this is another really cool piece of vintage lace, which is pretty much covered except for the little scallop, but I had it across the whole tag, and then I decided I wanted some of the silk to show through, so that's why I went ahead and used this open piece so that I would still have some of the silk showing through. And then the buttons represent Kaylee, Toby, and I, which is my little grandson and my daughter who live with me. This is our little family unit. And we spent the first week of January together, and then Toby went back to his daddy's. So Kaylee had to work on King's Day, and I was home alone on King's Day, but she surprised me with a King's cake. She went all over town trying to find me a King's cake so we could celebrate King's Day, which was the big holiday in Spain that my husband's family celebrates. So week 1 was white, highlights of the first week of January, King's Day celebration. No celebration. Kaylee brought a King's cake. She worked. I spent the day alone crying. White shades and scraps. 3 buttons represent me, Kaylee, and Toby, the 3 people in my life right now. Not in my life, but in my immediate little bubble circle. You know, it's just the 3 of us isolating together. Flowers represent how we're all growing and blooming in spite of the difficulties of the past year. Standout moment was a deja vu I had on King's Day. Kaylee and Toby and I were opening gifts, and Pasquale wasn't there. And I remember having this dream and telling him about it and how sad I was that we were opening presents and he wasn't there. And this was over 2 years ago, and he hugged me and told me, honey, it's just a dream. It's just a dream. It's going to be okay. And in that moment, when I had the deja vu, my face turned white, and Kayla's like, what? And I said, I dreamed this. I dreamed this 2 years ago that Pasquale wasn't here, and I was really upset and really sad, and he told me that it was okay. That was just a dream. And sometimes I negate those kind of dreams. My grandma had prophetic dreams. She would say I had a dream about them, and everybody would hold on to their seat because whatever she dreamed came true. And I have had that happen a lot, where I've had that sense of deja vu. I haven't had it recently. That was the first time I've had a deja vu in a long time, but I used to get them daily. So part of my process for self-care and spiritual growth is to listen to those little whispers that come into my life, and pay attention to the white space, to the blank space, because there's beauty in the blank space. If you take a moment to listen. And in an aside, before I go on to the next tag, I just got to show this fabric. Okay, let me put it up close so you can really see. It's linen, but it has little flecks, metallic silver flecks in it. So this was a table runner, a Christmas table runner. I got it on clearance for 70% off at Home Goods after Christmas. And I went in there and bought up every tablecloth, every kind of anything that was made out of this cool linen. This was the only piece, but I bought some other pieces that have gold and silver, which I'll show you at the end of this video, because I think I'm gonna use some of it for crafting, but I have so much. I'm gonna start cutting some of this up into 8.5 by 11 pieces and selling it in my Etsy shop. I have a defunct Etsy shop that I used to do Etsy like 10 years ago. It's just sitting there. So I may start posting. I'm going to start posting some more things for sale in there. And I've had some people wanting to buy some of my doll clothes as well. So I don't know if I'll do a separate shop or just put it all in one shop. I don't know. But anyway, just wanted to share that with you because I know a lot of you that are into junk journaling, you like linen, you like using linen. This would make a beautiful journal cover. It makes beautiful ruffles. It came with a tattered ruffle edge all the way around. So it frays beautifully. Look at that. So what I do is I go through here, and these are all my threads from taking it apart, but I go through and I cut that selvage edge off, and I wrap it on a spool or a bolt, a little mini bolt, and save that because I use that as decorative edging in things. It's just amazing. So Okay, so tag number 2. The prompt was a heart. So this one I started, this was a blast from India that I bought that was all fully embroidered and I just loved. So I cut the heart out, and then I wanted it, it's very sheer fabric. So I had to do a layer of this and then a layer of the same sheer fabric that wasn't beaded. And then I wanted it slightly puffy. So I cut out a piece of this. My son got a big box of chocolate the other day, and it was in the recycle bin, and I looked at it and I was like, I could use that paper to make something puffy. So I cut the heart out of this. Still smells chocolatey, and I thought that would work, but it wasn't puffy enough. I wanted it a little more puffy. So I just stuffed it with some cotton balls and then stitched it shut. And unfortunately, this little piece back here is fraying, so I'm going to put some fray check on it and stitch it back down. But you don't look at the back anyway. I may end up putting a little ribbon on this and hanging it on my Christmas tree next year. So I love to do refrigerator magnet poetry. We have a huge jar of words, and my husband and I used to leave little poems and little messages for each other on the refrigerator all the time. So I love to cut words out of books and do my own little words. This was on a bag that I got at an art retreat in the class kit, and there was a bunch of, like writings on the bag, and so this was in there, and I cut it out and put it on there because the heart, obviously made me think of my husband. I love blue, but the flowers were for him because he loved flowers. The man could take a dying orchid that was on its last legs and rejuvenate it and have beautiful blooms coming. He just had a really green thumb. And so I did the stitching around the heart. I sewed with the sewing machine. I glued this on with glue stick. So this was fabric from our wedding. And then glued it on with glue stick and then stitched around with my sewing machine. And then I had these little pieces, and you can see, I think I did little pieces of silver threads in there to kind of tie in with that. And then I sewed these 15 beads on. These 15 beads represent the 15 years I had with my husband. And it wasn't really love at first sight. I put that on there. I mean, I already loved him when I met him, but we met online, and the first time I heard his voice in my ear, there was just something, I just knew he was somebody special. And looking back on it now, I know that I did fall in love with him that very first phone call. So week 2 was a heart. The heart represents Pasquale and my marriage, the 15 blue beads for the 15 years we spent together. The flowers represent his love of all growing things. The blue heart surrounded by the silver represents the wrapping of a precious love that we shared. The highlight of the week was hearing my grandson say a curse word. I don't want to say it here on my channel, but he said the S word very emphatically when I was trying to open one of his toys and I couldn't get it open. He went around the car and said, and just cracked me up. I don't curse in front of him. His mommy does. So we're trying to watch our language around him. But there's nothing funnier than a 21-month-old busting out with a curse word when they barely talk, but they know exactly how to say a curse word emphatically and in exactly the right moment. So that was my highlight for that week. Okay, the third week was scraps. Now, Anne did a thing where she took the scraps and she sewed them in. They were long scraps, and she sewed them in and compressed them so they all stuck out about this far, and they were very fringy. I kind of didn't want to do that because I really love these fabrics, and I didn't want to just see strings and white. I wanted to actually see the beauty of the textiles. So these are all just little scrappy bits in my bit box. This was a doily that I'd cut the center out of, but I saved this because I thought it was so pretty. So when I was doing it, I thought I could have picked any colors, but I have a lot of white because I utilize white a lot, and then I just dye it with food coloring or, Tim Holtz Distress inks or, magic markers, whatever I have around when I want to color, I just do it. So that's why I have a lot of white and cream and beige things, because it's very versatile. So anyway, and each one of these little fabrics tells a story too. So I won't go into all the stories, but some of them are found fabrics and some of them are special fabrics. This was a blouse that I used to have, and a piece of a ribbon off of a friend's wedding dress. Different little things. But anyway, as I was making it, I was realizing this white background is like, it's kind of like a metaphor for a blank canvas, right? Because yeah, it's all white, but it's different shades of white, and the different shades of white make this beautiful tapestry of a blank canvas that I can create, some new things for in my life. So I love flowers, and I thought, well, I'm going to utilize this too, put it in the middle. And then I always had to put something sparkly. So this is a really beautiful vintage glass, iridescent glass button that I had. And then the little doily scrap. But the flower represents, things are starting to bloom. The weeds are growing. I have some marigolds or nasturtium or something. It's some kind of little orange flowers that are peeking out all over my yard now. And the little trumpet flowers that my daughter used to call lemonade grass is starting to bloom. So amidst all of the winter and the cold, spring is poking its little head out. I'd say probably in another couple of weeks we're going to have the tulip trees and some of the fruit trees starting to pop. So week 3 was scrappy. These scraps are well, I told you, from clothes I wore, and also little bits that I passed while and I purchased in our travels. He was a great junking partner. He always found such great things, and he knew my style. He looked for things that I really loved. He really took to yard sailing and flea markets and thrift stores when he moved here. I introduced him to him, and he was like, oh my God, this is amazing, because they don't have them in Spain. They have El Rastro Flea Market in Madrid, but that's pretty much it. So we would always stop wherever we went. We would Google Goodwills or thrift stores, and we would go check out a couple of thrift stores. If there was a flea market, we would go. We went on a trip to the East Coast, and we planned the trip around different flea markets so we could hit a bunch of different flea markets. When we were in Paris, I wanted to go to the Paris flea market. We went with my daughter and her girlfriend, but they went shopping for vintage clothes for my daughter, which I enjoyed. I love vintage clothes shopping, but I wanted to go to the section where they had textiles and lace and old books and things like that, and I didn't get to go to that section. So our week was up, and it was our last day got screwed up because our Airbnb person never showed, was a no-show, so we didn't have a place to stay. So we spent the whole last day that we were supposed to go to the Eiffel Tower and all that, waiting for a room to be available, sitting in 3 different cafes until they kicked us out. So the next day we were leaving at like 3 in the afternoon. So my husband, after working 8 days nonstop at a trade show on his feet all day, and then meetings at night with customers, woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning. We took an Uber to this little local flea market, not the big flea market in Paris, but a little local one that's supposed to be really good. And we got there and nobody was set up yet because the time had just changed. And so everybody was later. So we went and sat in a coffee shop, had a coffee and a pastry, and waited. And then as sunlight, as the sun started to come up, vendors were opening up their stuff. And luckily he spoke French. So we went there and he just chatted up some of the vendors, and they were really sweet and pulled out boxes, and he said, do you mind? She's looking for this and this and this. And they said, sure, no problem. They pulled out boxes and sat them up on a table for me so I could look through them. And they gave me a flashlight to look. They were very sweet. And he was just that kind of guy. He was very friendly and open, and people were always very welcoming to him. So sorry, guys. I promised myself I wasn't going to cry, but that just shows the kind of man he was, to take the last day that we could have went and gone sightseeing, or he could have actually slept in before the long flight home and gone to a nice breakfast or something. He got up at the crack of dawn to take me to a flea market. So, and that memory is one of my best memories of our trip to Paris. I didn't get to spend too much time with him because he was working. It was mostly with my daughter, and I had a great time with my daughter, but those little moments that I got to spend with him there were really special, and he promised me we would go back again, and of course we didn't get a chance, but I just really, I'm grateful that I have that memory, and I have bought some little silver spoons that I use for tea, and every time I use them I think of that trip. And every time I go to a thrift store, I think of him, because he would always be over in the book section looking for old books for me or looking for books for himself, because he just loved books. So going thrift store shopping, I still enjoy it, and I go a lot, but it's not the same without my, what's the word? My picker. You know, people hire pickers to go out and get things for them, and he was a good picker. Okay, and the fourth week was a stitch called the fly stitch. I did not do this stitch justice. So basically, you come up from underneath here, you pull the thread and hold the thread here with one hand, with your finger, then you go across, poke it down, and then you come back up, and then wrap the thread around so that when you pull it through, it makes this little tail like a Y. And some people do it, it's a little more U-shaped, a little more curved. I knew I was going to do flowers, and I want it to look like leaves, but it happens to look like, I don't know, like flowers or kind of aliens. My friend said it looks like an alien family. Anyway, I just said it's me, Kaylee, and Toby again. But these are my favorite colors. And look at this fabric. This was a shower curtain that I got on sale at Tuesday morning. And it's a satin with this nubby white and little silver specks. It is amazing. So I'm going to put some pieces of this in. I'm going to do like blues, some packs of blue fabrics, because I have a lot of blue. And then I'll do some packs of the whites. And then I may do some multi-packs of different colors. But anyway, this will definitely be in there. So look for it, because this is a gorgeous textile. And it's a poly blend, but it's just, I don't care, because it's satiny. It's soft. It's got that cool nubby texture. This is such a pale color. You could dye it any color you want. So this is a cool ribbon that I have that I got at a vintage shop. Let's see if I can find the bolt, and I'll show you. So it's kind of elasticated. But again, this is like the selvage edge off of this fabric that I was showing you. This was actually specifically made to be a fringe, but I used this very sparingly. I sent some of it to my friend Tracy Fox in England, but she's the only person that I've actually shared it with, because I hoard this, because I don't have, this is all I have, and I like to use it a lot. So I just keep it for me. But anyway, I wanted something in the center, and I thought about stitching around. Some people did them, they look like dandelions, but I could not get the needle through the card again. So I decided to just give it up. I glued the flowers down, I glued the jewels down, and I just did this stitching. But I did go and try doing more of this stitching on another piece that I was going to add. I didn't like how it looked, so I just left it. But I did master the stitch, doing some more practicing, but that was fun to learn that stitch. I enjoyed that. So week 4 fly stitch, my first attempt at embroidery since I was 5. The stitches are okay, but not great. I decided to leave them as they are because I want to show my progression over the coming weeks. The 3 flowers are for gems in my life, me, Kaylee, and Toby. And I'm not so I just put in here that I'm not sure what I would have done if I had been alone, because they've been here with me by my side this whole time, and I've been spending a lot of time being sad and crying a lot, and these little gems are kind of like the little dots of hope that shine in my life, that show me that life can be different and life can be good again. I just have to look for the shiny things, which is okay because I love shiny things. It's so funny because Toby's obsessed with Moana, and his favorite part of Moana is the crab, Tamatoa, that sings the song Shiny. Every time he sees it, he's like, so you want to watch Moana? Shiny, 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 shiny. So, boy, he's my grandson because I love shiny things. And I've been making American Girl doll clothes, and I have a couple of them that have this really fun giant chunky sequin skirts. And he picks those dolls up, and he just likes to flip the sequins on the skirt. He doesn't really play with the dolls, but he just, he shakes the sequins and looks at it. I said, it's shiny, isn't it? He goes, shiny, shiny. Then he wants to see the show. But it's funny because I've always been a little kid that, one time I disappeared in the store. My mom couldn't find me, and she tells the lady, all right, wait. Do you have any kind of sparkly things here? Fabrics that are sparkly, shiny, anything like that? Because that's what she'll be. And she found me hiding in a rack of fabrics that were all sparkly lames and shiny things. So, anyway. Okay, guys. That's it for this for this month for my tags. I'll be back I guess probably at the end of February with the tags. I'm going to do some more videos. I've been working on some other projects, my grief journal and a gratitude journal and some other things. So I'll be back doing some videos with that. But just wanted to pop in and say hi and kind of show you what I'm doing and explain my process of what I've done so far. All right. Thanks for stopping by. Take care. Have a great day.